Austin, Texas was filled with officials and former officials from high in the levels of United States government today for the dedication of that $18.6 million library in honor of former President Lyndon Baines Johnson of Texas. There were approximately 3,000 officially invited guests on hand for the 30-minute ceremony held here just south of the library itself. President Johnson presented over 31 million documents from his own personal files spanning 40 years of public service, from congressman all the way to the presidency.
I feel this way, Jim. I'm certainly appreciative and grateful for the people in Austin helping us, but I feel like that the raise at the moment is uncalled for. I believe that it might be out of proportion, and for that reason, I hope that perhaps that the bill at this time will not pass.
The Flower Mound Community Cemetery may never be the same, and these people working here in the wind and threatening weather today certainly hope it won't. Just a short time ago, it was up to here in weeds. Tombstones were broken and lying about, and people like Miss Ada Bruton, who is part of Dallas history, have been out here working to straighten up and clean up the Flower Mound Cemetery. Miss Bruton, how do you feel today about this revolution?
Oh, I'm extremely happy over the interest that the people are taking.
It has changed a bit, hasn't it?
Very much so, because it at one time had grown up into a wilderness, and the older generation, my parents and others, cared for it. I can remember, even as a child, how they were trying to take care of it, because it's over 100 years old, you see.
Did you ever think you would hear a Western rock and roll band playing here?
Never, and I imagine the ones that are buried beneath the sod here never didn't know what it was.
But it has brought people together, hasn't it?
It has. It has. It has its place in the world.
Well, now, Miss Bruton, that it has been cleaned up, and it is an attractive cemetery, how are we going to keep it this way?
I don't know. My dream is that we get it in a good condition, that the city will then come in and help us. They have done it to other cemeteries, and we feel like that they will when they see that the public is interested in it. And still very few of the ones that are living today know anything about it, and so I think it would be the thing to do is to let the city help us and take care of the responsibility of it, because we are not going to be able to take that responsibility too long.
Thank you very much. The Flower Mound Community Cemetery, just a short time ago, an eyesore, terribly grown up, couldn't find anything. Today it is neat, it is clean. Next door there is the Elmwood Cemetery. It's a private cemetery, but it is grown up. Maybe someone, somehow, will see fit to take care of it as well. From the Flower Mound Community Cemetery, this is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Are you going home to see your mother?
Vai para casa de mi madre también.
Yo voy para mi casa.
De México, sí.
¿Qué es esto?
Thank you, Martine. I love you.
Que digas, love you. I love you.
Thank you. What about some of the monetary problems that you've had to deal with? Are we getting them under control now?
Oh, I think so. I don't think there's anything that we should be unduly concerned with. I think everything's stabilized fairly well.
There was speculation today in the newspaper that you and others have all part of a grandiose plan that would end up with you as running for vice president with President Nixon, Ben Barnes running for governor, and keeping control of all of it.
I don't even want to comment on any wild speculation such as that. I really have more problems and more things to occupy my mind than to dwell in political fantasy, and that's what that is.
It's political fantasy and wild speculation.
That's right.
Well, there were many dozens of moments when people in different parts of the world thought there might have been some chance for peace, but they all broke down on the attitude of Hanoi. I don't want to quarrel with Mr. Wilson, but the truth is that we were in touch with Ho Chi Minh at that time, and there was no peace.
So there was then no radical change in the part of the United States government that brought about this.
The problem was we couldn't make the slightest dent on Ho Chi Minh. He wouldn't change his mind at all.
Do you think we ever will? Or not Ho Chi Minh himself, but with the North Vietnamese?
I doubt it, because I think they're going to sit it out and see how far we go and withdraw. Maybe they think they'll get it someday for nothing.
I've traveled all over the country and comparing counties with Dallas County, and I feel like that the services that we provide and the type of government and services to the people that we're competitive, or we're competing with the best.
Even though Roger Line abolished the position of public safety director, some still thought that the assistant city manager would do the same job that Cato Hightower performed as director. But it hasn't turned out that way. Whereas Hightower operated as sort of a super chief with various police and fire divisions reporting directly to him, Assistant City Manager Bill Gordon is given power back to the department heads. For example, research and planning in the police department used to submit its report to the public safety director. Now that section reports to Police Chief T.S. Walls. The crime lab will submit its findings internally within the police department instead of being directly responsible to the director of public safety. I asked Assistant City Manager Gordon about the changeover and its effect on the departments.
Bob, do you feel that the trade that complicated and involved so many players the other day enhanced the possibility you might sign with Dallas, or perhaps decreased the possibility?
You know, you can speculate either way, but when the trade was made, of course we listened to it from you on Channel 8 News, and you revealed that the players would be announced at 10 o'clock that night. Which one of the Cowboy officials got on the phone and called my wife and said, "Don't worry about it, it's not Bobby." That gave us a little release. But yeah, I think that it was a trade within helping each club, and of course I just hate to see guys like Pettis leave because we established a relationship so much that with he and Margaret and the kids that I just feel like a part of him, and it's a part of me leaving when a guy like Pettis leaves.
Bob, let's just get right to it. How have the negotiations gone with the Cowboys? Are you optimistic or still shopping?
Well, in the past 2 weeks, I tell you, it's been really going real great being a Cowboy. And I think Gil Brandt just been doing a real good job, outstanding job of negotiating with the party with me and my attorney, Michael. And I'm quite sure if we continue to go on like we're going, I'll become a Cowboy again.
Bob, you know, the one question I think that everybody asked, and I know you've heard it a million times since it was announced that Lance Allworth was coming here, reportedly he makes a considerable amount of money, and there was some degree of questionability on the part of a lot of folks as to how they could afford to pay him and not pay you. Have you asked yourself that question?
I thought about it, but this flash crossed my mind. I tell you, it was a lot of mail and phone calls that I've gotten since the trade saying that Allworth, whatever he was making, which coming in 1 year and I've been here for 6, and I was asking basically for the same thing and couldn't get it. But like I said, people can speculate. They don't know what Allworth is getting. They don't know what I'm asking for. But we do know that Allworth was the premier receiver at one time, and we never know now because of his injury last year. And I'm quite sure that he's an expensive receiver. And I just hope that I could get what I'm asking for. And then again, Vern, I don't care what he's getting. I'm just asking for what I'm worth.
Bob, do you expect that this long, drawn-out period of negotiations might come to a close shortly?
Well, we hope so, because I tell you, my wife and I, we've taken a brutal beating from certain people in the telephones and some places in the media and the fans and every place else. But we hope that it can come to a conclusion where whatever they plan on doing with me, signing me or sending me away, whatever, it'll happen, because I tell you, it's been a strain, basically, really on my wife, and I just hate to see her at this stage and at this level. I've never seen her like this before, and I just hope that everything can work out with us.
with no relatives. The fire department is not really affected by the change since most operations were already under the direct control of Fire Chief Bob Himes. Bill Gordon says that one advantage of the reorganization is that the police chief will be more in touch with the divisions he commands. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
The demand for city services has expanded so much in the last few years that city offices have burst out of the City Hall in the 2000 block of Commerce Street and now are scattered in 14 different buildings in the downtown area alone. But because the city only owns 8 of those 14 locations, that demand for services is costing taxpayers an estimated $500,000 every year in rent alone. If that rent were taken off the budget, it would remove a cent from the property tax rate at a time when Dallasites are arguing over whether or not to build a new city hall. Furthermore, if the city could get all its services together in one building, it could sell the city hall, the police building, and the old central fire station. That would bring in another $3 million, enough to cut into the budget overage for the proposed new city hall. But what the city staff is even more interested in is how the scattering of city services affects their jobs. One staff member who, for obvious reasons, refused to be identified, told me a taxpayer looking for help from the city could get lost just trying to find his way to the right building. In fact, such places as the Department of Planning and Urban Development, located in the building at 500 South Irvay, has such conditions as storage space in the hallways, typewriters in the halls, and 24-inch wide entrances to offices. Partitions in the planning department are thrown together often from leftover pieces of sheetrock, propped and nailed up any way that will isolate an office. Conditions aren't much better in the building the police department rents at 210 South Harwood Street. Still, with all the crowded conditions and distances between the offices, in fact, the city runs a shuttle bus service to get employees from one building to another, still the city owns almost a vast amount of land in downtown Dallas. With funds authorized as far ago as 1964, the city bought nearly 40 acres north of Canton Street and between Ackerd and Irvay Streets. The property was purchased as a site for the new city hall. But until somebody makes up the city's mind about whether that's to be built or not, the property is being used as a vast parking lot. Meanwhile, Dallas taxpayers are spending $500,000 a year to rent office space that doesn't do the job that needs to be done. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News, on the Move.
Well, they certainly were. Detroit last year was real turmoil, and it was very frustrating both to myself and to the general manager and the owner, the whole management. We have just come off some meetings in Florida, and we feel that we got everybody working together now. We can turn things around and put Detroit back where it should be, as one of the powerhouses in the National League.
So in other words, next year you're looking for a lot better showing than last year.
Well, we certainly are. We've made, I think, some real good trades. We have some young players, and I think that if I have a chance to work a month at training camp with them, that we will come up with a real strong club.
Montreal knocked off the Boston Bruins, who set all kinds of records this last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then went on to win. What's your reaction to all that?
Well, they had one thing going for them in this all-their series was hot goaltending. This Ken Dryden, a fellow that came out of the American colleges, just was tremendous. But I think Boston, in my own opinion, wore themselves out in setting all the records. They played all their big guns right till the last game, setting records that will probably never be touched in the National League. And I think they wore themselves out for the playoffs. They felt that they could just breeze through, and Montreal come up and showed them that you have to work hard no matter how good you are.
This is an active termite tunnel.
And what do you mean by active?
The termites are living in it. You can see the termites in the back and the sides and both ends as they go through this tunnel.
Well,
this tunnel stands like this normally.
Right. This is up against. Okay. Now the tunnel you told me a while ago acts sort of as an air conditioning, heating, a living duct for the. Why?
Well, you take a termite and put him out in the sunlight right now, he would die within 15 minutes. You have to have this protection.
Mm-hmm.
He lives within this tunnel. He can raise, in the wintertime, as they work 12 months of the year, in the wintertime he can raise the heat in the tunnel. Summertime they can cool it down.
But they all live in these tunnels and they can't live outside.
Right.
Well, then, what exactly are you looking for as an entomologist, Clayton?
I'm out here looking for the queen.
Now,
they called me, pardon?
Why is it so rare?
Well, I just don't, you don't find many queens. I've only found I've even seen 5 or 6 queens and only found one myself.
Clayton, this is a major discovery because now we have found a tunnel here that's this size. How rare is this?
Oh, you'll find maybe, it depends how many homes you inspect, but you'll find maybe 1 or 2 a year. And never this many. See, on this particular house, there are tunnels this size in about 4 places.
Mm-hmm.
We may generally just find 1. This house had 4 of them.
But what is this an indication of to you as an entomologist?
It means there had a lot of termites in this house.
Today, with the reorganization of the city manager's office, we deleted the public safety director's position and we changed it to assistant city manager for public safety. With this reorganization, it was specified that the assistant city manager for public safety would not get involved in the day-to-day operations of the police and fire and civil defense departments. And what we've done is taken the staff that previously reported to the public safety director and divided them out so they now report to the respective chiefs. This way they can do their day-to-day operation.
Well, how does this help the police department, for example?
Well, previously under the public safety director, just for one example, the budget was prepared by an administrative management section which reported to the public safety director. the police chief and the fire chiefs were not that involved in preparation of their budgets and administering their budgets. Now they will be responsible for their budgets and preparation and administering it.
This is the home where 55-year-old Miss Anna Marie Badding lived and died. Police theorize that last night at about 11:30, after Miss Badding had visited her mother in a Dallas nursing home, she got off a bus at about 11:18, just 3 blocks from here, at the intersection of Jefferson and Clinton in Oak Cliff. At about 11:30, she would arrive at her front door. That's when the incident occurred. The neighbors say that about 11:30 they heard screams and cries for help, some neighbors as far as 3 houses away. One man even investigated with a flashlight but found nothing. When 2 Dallas policemen arrived shortly after 11:35 last night, they found Miss Badding lying near her open front door in a pool of her own blood. She had been beaten to death. They found no motive for the crime, nothing apparently missing, and an autopsy report will determine whether or not Miss Badding had been criminally assaulted. The man who assaulted Miss Badding and killed her apparently ran through the house and out the back door. Bloodstains were found there, and he disappeared into the night. No one seeing, no one knowing who had committed the act. Miss Badding died in this house last night in her 55th year of life. This is Gene Thomas, Channel 8 News on the Move.
We're showing no pictures of the house, telling you the name of the people who own it. I'm sure that this may be a record of some sort, but a record that these people are not very proud of.